Street Fair, Book 2 of the Fairfolk Chronicles, written by Jeffrey Cook and Catherine Perkins, narrated by Fairy Princess Lolly. Chapter 7, Collector. Megan's question was answered immediately as she managed to parse the next string of shrill words floating over the market, which called into question whether the target had ever had a mother. When the screaming and cawing didn't stop, Megan took off alongside Lonnie, just behind Kasha and Justin, already running in the direction of the pixie's voice. "That last part sounded different," Megan called to Lonnie as they darted towards the outbursts. "That's because she switched to German." "Well, it does make better heavy metal for a reason," Megan conceded breathlessly before another, even harsher string of sounds followed. When Lonnie winced, Megan asked, "What?" "That was really vicious Klingon." "Of course you know Klingon." They emerged from a row of vendors in time to see a tall, auburn-haired man shoving people out of the way as he ran. Aisling, astride the Count, was in hot pursuit from above. That was all the inspiration it took for Kasha to join in, racing after the man, knocking over a couple of people just as they were getting up. After sharing a glance and trying to be more cautious of those around, the three teens took off after them. The man knocked over a pot of soap and its vendor with it. Some of the ingredients scrambled away on varying numbers of limbs. Recovering his balance, he evaded a dive from the crow-mounted pixie and took off running again. When the Count next dove, and the man appeared ready to avoid the bird, Aisling leapt off the crow in flight, managing to catch on to one of the pouches on his belt. Noticing the added weight and movement, the man alternately tried grabbing for her or shoving her away. Aisling kept darting about and finding handholds, evading his grip. He finally caught hold of the pixie by one leg, pulling her away. Something came away from his pouch in her hands as he tried to hold on. Kasha's war cry carrying over the crowd alerted him, and instead of holding on or wrestling for whatever it was, he flung the pixie away towards the satirist. Catching Aisling took only a moment, but it was long enough for him to reach and duck down another row, out of Megan's sight. Megan and Lonnie tried to dodge their way around the crowd enough to reach the others. They caught up with Justin first, then, a short time later, with Kasha, Aisling, and the Count trying to make their way through a dense crowd, they finally regrouped. "I had him! I had him!" the pixie shouted. "We need to keep looking!" "Aisling, he's gone. We're not going to find him in that crowd, with all those tents, but we'll keep an eye out." "Who is that?" "The butterfly collector!" Aisling snarled. "You're sure?" Lonnie asked, horrified, and staring down the row like she might pick him out of the crowd somehow. Megan, in contrast, was trying not to stare at Aisling's sliced wings. "I'm going to remember that face, and those hands holding cold iron, and that voice. The poxy bastard went on till the Count got me. It's him." Aisling was shaking as she tried to hoist herself back on the Count's back. "Wow," Megan said, still trying not to look right at the wings. "You don't think he brought cold iron here, do you?" "He'd have to really be a moron," said Kasha. "This crowd would tear him to pieces. Orla exiled her own nephew for trying to duel with cold iron." A mortal, at the goblin market. Kasha trailed off, shaking her horned head, but the implications were clear. "If this guy really is who Aisling says he is," Lonnie began. "He is!" Aisling interjected, scowling. "Caw! You see? The Count never forgets a face." "Caw!" "Or a terribly pretentious lapel pin. Seriously, a bronze and ivory bull? That's downright bull. Caw!" "Yeah." Lonnie had stood there, mouth still open, waiting to no longer be interrupted. "Then maybe we should see if there's any way to find him." "And tear his wings off," Aisling added. "Pretty sure he doesn't have wings," Justin said. Aisling's scowl just grew more intense. "Arms or legs will do fine then. Though, really, Why stop at or? Let's go with and instead. Caw! You said it, Count. Aisling's face was getting rather disturbingly gleeful. Megan raised an eyebrow. The Count isn't normally real thirsty for non-carrion blood. You don't normally see him giving cause, Aisling said. Nobody holds grudges like a crow. Nobody. A nod of a beak seemed to affirm this. Megan blinked. I guess I'll take your word. Lonnie interrupted. So yeah, Aisling's clearly got a vested interest in looking into the matter. Kasha handed Aisling what seemed to be a tiny pink headgear constructed out of part of a flower. Aisling accepted it, raised it to her mouth, and took a bite. She sighed loudly. Not even eating a hat is going to calm me down. But she took another bite anyway. She pulled this off him, Kasha said, holding up a large scrap of paper. Had to keep her from wrapping herself up. The paper was definitely bigger than Aisling. Lonnie looked at it, then showed Megan. It appeared to be a piece of a map. There were 4 small brownish-red X's. Megan again chose to assume the rusty red ink was involved. Impeccably printed and scattered points across the scrap of parchment. One corner of it contained part of a body of water. Beside it was a tiny footnote in Latin. Megan pointed. What's that say? Lakeshore varies depending on drainage cycle, Kasha said. Megan indicated another footnote. And this one? Swamp. Watch for wisps. Where's all this supposed to be? Megan asked. And what's on the other half of the map? It certainly seemed like a place to start when looking for the owner of the map. Lonnie and Kasha looked at the map over her shoulder, then glanced at one another. Then they fidgeted. Give us a minute, Lonnie finally said. While you take that minute, Justin said, I'll go pick up the cats from their tree. I also need to get something from under the stage. I'd hoped to be pleasantly surprised and not need it, but sometimes life is just not surprising.
Hello friends, this is Gone for Hammerhands. Thank you for checking out Fairy Princess Lolly's channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Use your troll hammer to ring that little bell icon to get notifications when she posts future videos. And if you'd like to support these magical creations, fly over to our Patreon and join the fairy family. Safe travels!